Hello students, let us begin discussing about the first topic of our unit 3. This is known as photoperiodism. Now let me pose some questions for you before we discuss what is photoperiodism. Different plants flower at different times of the year or different seasons of the year. They exactly know when to start flowering, isn't it? So the question is that how do they keep a track of the seasons? How do they know that the time for them to flower has come? Is it an environmental factor which influences the process of flowering, or it is something else? Have you asked these questions to yourself before? Now see, all of us, we know the importance of light in the life of a plant, isn't it? Without light, the plants cannot photosynthesize. But not only the process of photosynthesis, there are some other processes in plants which are directly influenced by the light or the periodicity of light. Now all those processes are known as photomorphogenetic processes, right? As for example, you see, with the onset of winter season, the leaves of some deciduous plants, they start falling. That is the function of the light. There are some plant species like lettuce. Without being exposed to a particular wavelength of light, these seeds of lettuce will never germinate. So light has an influence in the process of germination in case of lettuce. There are some plants which exhibit nyctinastic movement or sleeping movement. With the onset of darkness, especially in the evening time, the leaflets of those plants, they fold downwards as if they are going to sleep. That also is induced by light. So there are many other processes like this which are actually known as photomorphogenetic processes. And why we call it photomorphogenetic processes? It's because all these processes are influenced by light, and these photomorphogenetic processes are independent of photosynthesis. Okay, now this photoperiodism that we are going to discuss is also a type of photomorphogenetic processes. Now let us see what is this photoperiodism. The photoperiodism is defined as a response of a plant to the relative length of day and night. Alright, so easy definition. I don't think that we have to elaborate something here. It is the response of a plant to the relative length of day and night. So if the day length is shorter than the night length, how the plant will respond. If the day length is greater than the night, how the plant will respond. Okay, so this response of a plant is known as photoperiodism. This phenomenon of photoperiodism was first discovered in the year 1920 by two agricultural scientists in the US Department of Agriculture, and their names are Garner and Allard. Now they were working in a plant which is known as Maryland mammoth variety. It is a mutant variety of a tobacco plant. Okay, now let us see the plant first, then we will discuss about that experiment that they conducted. I will look at this. In the picture, in the image here, the bigger plant, this is a Maryland mammoth variety, which is a mutant variety of the original plant, which is so small as compared to this mutant variety, you see. Okay, and about these two persons, I cannot say whether they are Garner and Allard or some other two models which are posing in front of these plants for a photograph. But then let us concentrate on the plants first. You look at this, the local variety, the native ones, the original tobacco plant, Nicotiana tabacum. This is flowering. Okay, now look at this mutant variety. There is profuse vegetative growth. You see the leaves are so large here, but then there is no flower. Okay, now what happened? These two scientists, they were studying the flowering behavior and seed set in this mutant variety of tobacco plant. Why? It is because, see, in tobacco, the economically important part of the plant is the leaves. Now leaves are very big in this mutant variety, so commercially this variety is very important. But the problem was that Maryland is a place in US and this is a temperate place. Okay, now in the summer, when the the original variety of the tobacco plant start flowering and start setting seeds by the autumn, this Maryland Mammoth variety, which is a mutant variety and commercially very important, it does not flower, so there is no any seed produced in the plant. Now in the winter months, this plant are killed in the field due to frosting, so seeds cannot be obtained from this mutant variety of tobacco plant. Right, now what they did, because they were agricultural scientists and it was very important for them to obtain seeds of this mutant variety so that the farmers can raise the next generation, is not it? So what they did, they transferred this plant to greenhouses where the temperature can be controlled, and using different other devices, even light condition also can be controlled here, okay, in the greenhouse. Now they transferred this mutant variety of tobacco to the greenhouses during the winter months, and they found that if they are grown in the winter months in a greenhouse where the temperature is controlled, they start producing flowers and they also set seeds. Now those seeds, when they are grown in the next generation next year, they also behave like their mother plant only, means in the summer there will be profuse vegetative growth but there is no flowering and no seed set. In the winter, if they are in the field, they will be killed due to frosting, and if they are brought to the greenhouses, there this plant will produce flowers and set seeds. Now in the next phase of their experimentation, they extended this experiment to the summer month. Now what they did, by using dark boxes and by using greenhouses where they can control the photoperiod and they can also control the temperature, they grew this plant in the greenhouse during the summer month, where they reduced the duration of light which was equivalent to a winter day, means the plants which were growing in the greenhouse was exposed to a photoperiod which was equivalent to the photoperiod of a winter day, and they found that even during the summer month only, this mutant variety of tobacco plant started producing flowers and they start producing seeds also. Okay, so in the winter months, they extended the experiment to the greenhouses using the same enclosures, and they found that if the photoperiod to which this mutant variety of tobacco plants were exposed, if the photoperiod was longer, I mean if the plants were exposed to a photoperiod which was equivalent to the photoperiod of the summer days, even during the winter month, the Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco plant will remain vegetative. They will not produce flowers. Let me remind you that otherwise, in normal situation, if the plants are grown in the greenhouse without altering the photoperiod, during the winter months they produce flowers, but in the winter months inside the greenhouse, if you expose them to summer day photoperiod, then they will not produce flowers. So what is the meaning of this? What can we conclude from this? We can conclude that it is the length of the photoperiod which determines flowering in this Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco plant. Right. So from the experiment they conducted in 1920, Garner and Allard classified plants into 3 different categories. They named them as short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. Now let us try to define what are short day plants, what are long day plants, and what are day neutral plants. These definitions were given by Garner and Allard. Now short day plants are those plants which require a short day photoperiod in order to flower. Now this is very critical, this is very important concept for you to understand, so listen carefully. Short day plants are those plants which will flower when they are exposed to a short day photoperiod. Now the most important part here is the definition of a short day photoperiod. Let me tell you, and please remember, in physiology, short day and long day definitions are different from the definitions that we use in our day-to-day life. For us, short day, or for a layman, short day means the day length is short compared to the night length, or the day length is shorter than the longer day length. Likewise, long day means when the duration of the day is longer than the night, isn't it? But in physiology, it's different. Look at the definition of a short day. The day length is shorter than a critical maximum, that is known as a short day. Okay, means there is a limit. If you expose, or if you give the plant a shorter photoperiod than that limit, than that capping, or than that critical maximum, then only that plant will flower. So the definition of short day photoperiod is that the photoperiod is lesser or shorter than certain critical maximum value. So let me tell you, let me give you an example. Suppose I say that this is a short day plant, and here critical day length, or the critical value is say 15 hours, which means this plant will produce flowers when they are exposed to a photoperiod which is less than 15 hours. It may be 5 hours, it may be 10 hours, it may be 11 hours, it may be 14 hours, but it should not exceed 15 hours. Alright, so it has nothing to do with the duration of the photoperiod. Short day doesn't mean that the day length is shorter. Yes, day length is shorter, but then in comparison to a certain critical value. Alright, now let us see some examples. We will discuss about this concept later on also, because it's very important for you to become clear with this concept. Xanthium is a short day plant. The Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco plant, that is a short day plant. The chrysanthemum, the ornamental plant. Then soybean, rice is a short day plant. Salvia is a short day plant. Sugarcane is a short day plant, etc. Okay, now let us go to the next category, long day plants. Here also the definition is almost same. The plants which require long day photoperiod in order to flower, these are known as long day plants. As for example, you see henbane, Hyoscyamus niger, Avena sativa, oats, Raphanus sativus, radish, allium species like onion, garlic, all those. Then Pisum sativum, then garden pea, then carrot, Docus caroti, then Lactuca sativa, lettuce, etc. All these plants. And one interesting observation I will tell you, that all these plants, you have a look at this: oats, radish, onions, garlic, garden pea, carrot, lettuce. All these plants we cultivate during the winter season, isn't it? Say October, November, December, like that. And if you think that winter days are actually short days, and look at this category of this plant, they are long day plants. Okay, so the conventional definition of a short day and long day plant is not applicable here in our topic that we are discussing, isn't it? Now let us again look at the definition of a long day plant, a long day photoperiod. What is a long day photoperiod? The day length is longer than a critical minimum. Have a look at this. In case of short day plant, there is a critical maximum value which should not be crossed. If you cross that maximum value, the plant will not flower. In case of long day plant, it is the opposite. There is a critical value. This is a minimum critical value, means below this photoperiod, if you expose the plant will not flower. Okay, so you have to expose the plant with a photoperiod which is more than this critical minimum value. Okay, so you have seen the examples. So we will discuss about this this concept later on also in coming slides, but just think it over. If you have any confusion, please write in the comment box here, or you may ask me in the Google Classroom also. Alright, now it's not true that all the plants are like this. All the plants do not respond to photoperiod, or in other words, we can say that there are many plants where the flowering process is not controlled by the day length. Alright, so don't think that if there is a phenomenon called photoperiodism, means all the plants will respond to photoperiod. Not like that. There are many plants which are day neutral plants. What are these day neutral plants? The plants which flowering, where the flowering is not affected by the photoperiod. Say cucumber is a day neutral plant. Whether you give them a short day photoperiod, long day photoperiod, they will flower. Tomato, maize, these all are day neutral plants. Alright. So we have seen these three different categories. Later on, okay, now let us have a look at this plants, the mostly which we will be citing in the coming explanations. Hyoscyamus niger, this is a long day plant, also known as henbane. You will not find this plant here in Meghalaya or Assam or Northeast. Mainly in India, you will find to us Jammu, Kashmir, UP, etc., etc. Okay, this belongs to Solanaceae family, and this is a medicinal plant, a medicine which is an alkaloid which is known as solasodine or solanine is extracted from this. All right. Now, Xanthium, this plant is a very common one here in the roadside. You will find them growing, and we used to play with the seeds of this spiny seeds. You can see here, not seeds actually, these are fruits, because they get stuck when you throw to someone's hair. Okay, so we used to play with this. The common name of this plant is Cocklivore. The scientific name is Xanthium strumarium, and it belongs to Asteraceae family. So this is a short day plant. Henbane is a long day plant. All right. Now later on, the physiologists added two more categories to what Garner and Allard has defined. These two categories are short long day plants and long short day plants, because they have found that there are some plants which are not day neutral plants, but their photoperiodic requirement is very different. It's very special type, means they have a very different kind of requirement. Say in case of short long day plants, the plants, in order to flower, first they require an exposure to a short day photoperiod followed by a long day photoperiod for flowering process. Example, rye, sickle, cereally. Alright. So initially you have to provide them with a short day photoperiod, and after that you have to give them a long day photoperiod. Let me explain this here. In case of rye, suppose I do not know what actually is the photoperiodic requirement of rye plant in order to flower. Let us assume that this photoperiod, that critical value is 10 hours. Okay, now if the critical value is 10 hours here for sickle cereally, first they will require a short day photoperiod, which means in the initial stage of flowering initiation, you have to give them a photoperiod which should be less than 10 hours, followed by a long day photoperiod, followed by a photoperiod which should be longer than or more than the 10 hours. That is the meaning of this whole thing. Alright. So short long day plants are there, then long short day plants are also here. Long short day plants which require a long day photoperiod in order to flower, followed by short days. Example, Bryophyllum. Alright. So there are 5 different categories we have found so far. The first 3 categories were defined by Garner and Allard, and the later 2 categories were added by other physiologists. Now a very important concept, if you want to understand the whole concept of photoperiodism, this is very important for you to understand. Critical day length. What is this critical day length? The day length which is required by a plant for the process of flowering, it is known as critical day length. Look at the definition. They have not told us anything about whether it is critical maximum or critical minimum. Simple definition: the day length or the photoperiod which is required by a plant for producing flowers, that is known as critical day length. Okay, now come to the next slide. Short day plants flower when the photoperiod is less than a critical maximum. Means suppose that Maryland Memor variety of tobacco plant, it has a critical day length of 12 hours. Okay, this is not an assumption, this is a fact. All right. So in case of Maryland Memor variety of tobacco plant, the critical day length is 12 hours, and I will tell you that Maryland Memor variety of tobacco is a short day plant. So what is the meaning of this? This Maryland Memor variety of tobacco plant will flower if they are exposed to a photoperiod which is less than 12 hours. If you give them 13 hours of day length, if you give them 14 hours of photoperiod, they will remain vegetative, they will not produce flowers. Alright. So short day plants, they flower when they receive a photoperiod which is less than the critical day length. more appropriately we call it critical maximum. Okay, they should not cross the maximum value. Now the long day plants will flower when the photoperiod is more than a critical minimum. Now let us assume that Nicotiana tabacum, Maryland mammoth variety, is a long day plant. Now critical day length, as I told you, it is 12 hours. Now if it is a long day plant, then the plant will produce flower only when if you expose the plant to a day length of 13 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, like that. It should not be less than 12 hours. Did you understand this? Okay. So now for today this mass is sufficient, I think. So you please go through the video again and again. As I told you, I will repeat again that this is very important for you to understand the concept of critical day length and what is a short day and what is a long day. So in the next class we will continue with this, and on Tuesday I have a class at 1 o'clock. First few minutes or maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes we will spend in discussing about any confusion that you have for this particular period that I have discussed today. Alright, so this may be in the Google Classroom or YouTube comment box, whatever. So first 15-20 minutes I will spend in answering your queries and doubts. After that the next video will be uploaded. Alright, so thank you very much. Take care. Bye.